Welcome to the We're Better Together podcast. I'm Ian Stevenson.
And I'm Daniel Orduña. Each month, we're excited to bring you an incredible interview with someone who has experience in facilitating an environment where people work better together.
And each week, we'll share some actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to help you function better together, whether it's in your marriage, family, team, workplace, church, or community.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Now let's jump into some content and get better together. Welcome back. This Monday, another 10-minute tune-up. And today we want to continue a conversation that we started in our last tune-up. We talked about in our last tune-up this idea about play as a team and just walk through the value of those moments of playing as a team and not always just working and how healthy that rhythm can be. Well, today we wanted to come back to you and our listeners and even for ourselves in this conversation because Ian and I learn alongside you. We want to talk about this idea of the value of rest and play individually in order to help us individually be better teammates. So we really wanted to start around this idea of rest. And I'm sure as I say that, there are many of you out there, possibly even including Ian and I, who really struggle with this idea of rest. And yet, we know as well that there is so much value to this idea of being able to pause. We can spend so much time focused in, right? We talk on this podcast, focus, adjust, persevere. Sometimes we can be so focused, so driven towards that we just wear ourselves out. There's nothing left in the tank at all. And then how valuable are we when we're running on empty? And so there is a value to being able to pause, to recharge, to rest. And I think that looks like things like maybe taking an entire day to unplug and just be able to recollect yourself, to calm yourself, to pause from the things that you are normally doing that actually helps your mind refresh, helps you rethink too. When you come back in to re-engage, it will help you in that context, also help you when it comes to you being a teammate, because if you are running on empty all the time, what kind of teammate are you in those circumstances? Are you operating in the best way that you can operate for the sake of your team? Or maybe for you, you're sitting here and you're like, yeah, I'm just, my schedule's so full. Maybe I've got kids at home too. I can't even fathom taking an entire day of rest. Then think about how could you interject moments of rest within your life, whether that's 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. I know for me, something that I really enjoy doing that helps me is the days that I can pause and take a walk to the park, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, just take this walk, let the calm happen. It makes a massive difference in terms of my productivity and how it is that I'm operating. It makes me such a better teammate when it comes to my coworkers and my job. It makes me a better husband to my wife when I get even a 10-minute walk in a day. Ian, for you, when you think about rest, what kind of thoughts come to mind for it or examples in your life?
Man, rest, this whole podcast really right now is about self-care, right? So if you're going to be better together, you're going to be a good team player, you've got to take care of yourself. And, I think about in some of the NBA games we watched, just got done watching the finals a little while ago. And, the best players on the team, they still have to rest. They can't stay out there and grind through the whole game or else they're not going to be better together as a team. They've got to take even those few minutes to rest, like you just talked about. So we have got to figure out what those few minutes look like for us, where we squeeze them in. And, rest is a hard thing. Actually, both of these things are hard for me. And I don't think I would do them without my wife. My wife telling me, okay, just even last night, we were sitting down to eat and my phone was out on the table and I was waiting for it. And she took my phone and she turned it over and she very kindly reminded me it's time to rest. It's time to turn your head off from that. But even for a day, to take a day off is really, it's actually one of the 10 commandments. We always think about the 10 commandments. You shall not murder, you shall not steal, those things. One of them is you should take a day of rest. It's not a suggestion. It's actually a command. It's something God built in that we need to do, but we don't do it very well. We think it's all about us. We got to stay on the court. We got to keep grinding. We got to keep doing it done. So for me, it's been very difficult to learn this discipline. And if I didn't have my wife / a coach telling me I got to rest, I probably wouldn't do it. So for our listeners, just a couple questions on rest. Number one, when's the last time you took a whole day off? Number two, when's the last time you unplugged your phone and didn't have a day where you were on media? Maybe that's a kind of rest that would be helpful for you to be more productive coming back. But look for those, like, I love what you said, Daniel. If you can't do it long, you got to at least find those moments, right? If you're going to be better together, if you're going to show up with a full cup and all you can bring, you've got to find those times to rest and play, which is our next topic, play. This one's even harder for me, man. Like, I find that, like, for me, play looks like working out, going on a walk. I don't know if that's play or not. It feels a little bit like play, but Daniel, you're good at play. Like, I've noticed that about you. You've told me about different things. I'm like, oh man, I wish. So give our listeners some wisdom about play, will you?
Yeah, I think it really, for me, it stems from having a really good boss when I was younger. Early in even ministry, the place that I've spent much of my work, had a great boss who really set me up in terms of, hey, work hard, play hard. And he made sure that even when I was an intern for him, or kind of in an associate second in command position, he modeled for me by making sure that there were points where we paused even in our day to go do something fun. Or, we worked in what we deemed kind of like the dorm room, the dorm hallway in the office. And he made sure intentionally that there were moments where it was like we gathered together with the 4 or 5 people that had offices next to each other to have fun conversation, to play a quick little game of something and kind of just have this atmosphere. And he made sure that he built that in to the structure for me of what my hours looked like, and made sure that this was important. And that's something that's always stuck with me. And that I learned was really valuable, was having these play moments. He'd take us in a car, a little bit about what we talked about last week as a team, taking us out to go bowling or something like that, but really instilled for me this sense of being able to play on my own. And so even when you look behind me right now, you see this NBA Jam arcade cabinet behind me. Play has always been something that's been enjoyable to me. Video games, board games. I'm with you. You said does walking, running, working out. I think that working out can count. Getting out there and taking off for a run, or lifting some weights, or whatever it is that you do. But it's something that I really feel like it just changes when you change up some of your routines in the midst of days. It really helps you to re-energize and refocus. So in a way that rest can do so, play can also do so as well. If I hop on here and Ian and I were meeting for 2 hours and I take a little 10-minute break and play this arcade system behind me, it can pause some of the stress and the intensity for a moment to then kind of recharge, come back and say, all right, let's go chase back after it. And so I've made sure to inject within my own life these moments of play, of working out, going to the park, going on a run, pausing and playing a couple video games for a minute. And it really has helped me to be such a better teammate.
So what I wrestle with sometimes in play is I feel guilty. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be goofing off doing this now because this has to get done. So how do you deal with that part of it? Like when you stop working, let's say, to go do your NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Does that ever come up for you?
Yeah. And even though this is something that I've built a rhythm into, I understand the guilt piece that you're sharing about too. And I feel that and have to wrestle with that. And I think that there's an aspect too of understanding your schedule sometimes as well. Hey, I got something that has a deadline and maybe I'm going to press through this and I'm going to put the play after that. If I know my schedule and I know what I have and I know something that's there, maybe I can adjust my play to be within that aspect. Or there's also times where just because I've learned the importance of just the physical need for us to make adjustments in our life, rest, you were talking about play earlier, that's something that's even short. Like we just said, even a 5-minute, hey, I know I got something that's due at 8. But even can I take 5 minutes out right now to do a quick little play? And I think I found that more times than not, yeah, I can even take 5 minutes. Even when I'm in the heat of something that's truly, really due, can I pull away for 5 minutes if I needed to have a bit of play, or 10 minutes for a bit of play? But that guilt piece, I think, is something that we really have to work through. And just really lay out our priorities, our values, and understand the importance that this plays into the bigger picture. And I think it comes back, part of it too, into that sense of bigger picture.
So Daniel, that's great. That's really good input. So what would be a challenge that you would give to me and to some of our listeners about play this week? What would be a good challenge for us to
I think within that, you look at your schedule. If you don't already have rhythm of play that is in your schedule, then even just this week, think about what is something you can do for 10 to 15 minutes in one of your work days that will be play oriented for you. Whatever play looks like for you, there's various aspects that have been laid out this week, 10 to 15 minutes on one day, interject play in the midst of your day, and then just see what happens, see what it does for you. I think that's one takeaway, just a place to start.
All right. So you got to ask me next week what I did to play this week. Where did I intentionally interject it? And hopefully our listeners will do the same thing. And we hope that as you hear these little prompts about things that will help you be better together, that you'll interject some rest and some play or rhythm so you can be the best player you can be when you show up in your marriage, your family, your home, your workplace. We want you to be better together. So hopefully this 10-minute tune-up pushes you in that direction. Tune in with us next time as we continue encouraging you to be better together. Daniel, you got anything you want to close with?
Just thank you so much for joining us again on this one. And again, if any aspect of this play and rest encouragement really speaks to you, or you think there's someone in your life that needs to hear it, please share this podcast with them so others can engage in this conversation.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.